So we've all told little lies here and there in our lives, but what is it that makes people compulsive liars? What is the psychology behind the habitual liars that we've encountered in our lives? What do they lie about? Why do they lie? And what are the symptoms and things that we can look out for to protect ourselves from people who lie? Up next. What is mindset? Our mindset is based on what we believe, and anything we believe in, we put into motion. I have spent my life putting the mindset of perseverance into motion, and now I am here today to share my journey along with others whose mindsets have changed the course of their lives. Hi, I'm mindset coach Lorraine Lindsey, and I believe that if you can change your mind, you have the power to change your life. So are you ready? Welcome back to another episode of The Mindsetters, where we believe that if you can change your mind, you have the power to change your life. And we are continuing our two-part series on the subject of lying, a very heavy topic, a heavy word, but something that needs to be addressed. So before I get into introducing my guests who are coming back to continue this story, do not forget to hit the subscription button. Give us your thumbs up. Let us know that you are out there listening. Let us know what you want to hear about. Comments, content, whatever. We'd love to hear from you guys. And again, thank you for the continued support. A couple announcements before we get started. I am running for Fab over 40. Woohoo. Woohoo. My sister, bless her heart, she loves me. So she put me in this voting thing. So for those of you who are watching and supporting, there is a prize that I get, which will hopefully help me to support my coaching practice and putting more money into that so I can give more and help more people out there. It's very important to me. Also, this Fab 40 thing does have donation options. Those donations go towards breast cancer. This is October Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So any way that we can contribute to finding the cure. It's an awful disease, and I know that if you've lived long enough, you've known someone that's either suffered from it, survived from it, or unfortunately have died from it. So definitely want to support breast cancer awareness. Next thing here is I do have a workshop coming up. It's going to be in November, November 10th. So if you are interested and you want to meet myself and the lipstick ladies who are here today, please go on to the Eventbrite. It's a mindset workshop. It's all about tapping into how did I get here, about self-love. It's about unearthing the whys and what we believe and how to kind of change that so we can have more fulfilling lives. So I'd love to see you guys there. Okay, so enough about that. Ladies, welcome back.
Hey.
We have my guests once again. I forget who's on my slide first. Is it Carmen?
Carmen.
Yes, so the lovely Miss Carmen Smith. Carmen, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
I'm Carmen Smith. I am a realtor here in Las Vegas. I also have started my own skincare line. It's on Etsy, Gia Carroll.
Beautiful. And let me tell you, go on there and check it out. She has had some amazing results, and it's all natural ingredients.
All natural.
Yes.
Giacarol.
Love it, love it. We'll have to get a little thing so we could post it up there next time. And Miss Charlene Ruiz.
Hey.
Whoop, whoop. What's up, Charlene? Tell us about yourself.
Hey, everyone. I'm Charlene. I'm a local and national lender for mortgages for 20-something years now. I'm also a health and fitness enthusiast, and I'm excited to speak to you all today.
Yes. All right. So, ladies, we talked about lies just last week. And I'm going to kind of recap a little bit. If you don't mind, Kwan, to put those little slides, we'll just shoot through them. So we talked about the type of lies. One of those lies was broken promises. We also talked about omission, exaggeration, minimization, fabrication, deception, and bold-faced lying, which, that one gets me. But today we're actually going to talk about the type of liars that are out there. And some of them are psychological. I mean, there are literally people out there who can't help themselves but to lie. They live and breathe their lies to the point where I think that they think it's their own truth, right? And it's frustrating because when people are really caught up in their web of lies and it becomes such a truth for them, you could be literally interacting and telling them you are lying, and they will look at you like you're crazy and make you feel like you are. So let's go right into the type of liars that are out there with the first one. So this is the sociopathic liar. They are the most damaging type of liars because they lie on a on a routing basis. I think that meant to say routine basis, without conscience and often without reason. They lie because they feel like it. Lying is easy for them, and they lie with no consequence or no conscience or remorse. So the sociopathic liar. So when I was growing up, I had a play cousin, okay? We just were always together as family. They were somehow related through family members, whatever, who cares? But she had this everything she ever said, every story she told people was always this incredible, like grandiose, exaggerated lie. But she would tell it with so much tenacity, and she would say it like it was just unbelievably the truth, that you couldn't, at some point, even though you knew it was a lie, like you almost like wonder, like, wait, did that happen?
Yeah.
She fight fires?
Yeah.
At 7?
Yeah, right, exactly. So how do you guys want to kind of tap on into that?
Ooh, I just experienced that type of liar in my life. I don't know if that example is a sociopathic liar.
Okay.
I think, to me, what I hear when I hear sociopathic liar is a person who is manipulative and who is deceptive and who is harming somebody else with their lies. So getting a person to believe who they are or who they might show up to be. To me, that's more of like a person living in a fantasy, and maybe their reasons for those types of lies are to escape from traumas or
Which is true. She
something
was
else.
had a very traumatic childhood for sure.
Non-emotional. I
Yeah.
feel like sociopath to me is a disconnect to any emotion. It's just how can I
manipulation.
Yes. How do I form myself to that person so that they can believe whatever that is? But
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's good.
No, and then the thing is, and it says it here, the sociopathic liar, they lie because they feel like it. So this is why they're so damaging, because they don't even have like a real
reason.
It's almost like they tell a story just to see what people will believe. It's like a game for them, right? Like, I'm going to tell this story, and I'm going to be very convincing in that story, and I want to see if this person is going to take the bait. And then if they do, then they're going to continue to tell lies to the person. And it's almost like entertaining. It's like they make almost like a mockery of people. Why do you think that there are people who do that? Like, what do you think? And it's hard for me to wrap my head around it.
It's almost like a competitive
It's
It's a
thing,
power
too.
trip for
Yeah.
sure.
To know that it's almost controlling, like I can control this person. I understand people so well. I understand what they need. So I'm going to use that. And it's sick.
It is.
It really is sick.
Especially when, and I would say probably most of the time, it's something that is not done for good. You're not being a sociopathic liar because you have good intentions for
Right.
people, you know. But I also feel like when a person is somewhat of a sociopathic liar, there is a disconnect with self.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like their truth is not good enough for them as well, so they become liars to themselves and to the world.
To be
There's
grandiose.
a complete disconnect, for
Yeah.
sure.
Totally. And listen, I feel like some of these sociopathic liars, like you were talking about your situation, it's like creating a fantasy world, right? And wanting to invite people in that world. So it's almost like if I can tell you a lie just because I can tell you the lie and you believe the lie, then you get to go on this fantasy world journey with me. You know what I mean? They get to kind of be in their own little fantasy world and bring people in it. It's like virtual reality.
It's crazy how you get caught up and sucked into that fantasy.
Yeah.
And how you begin to do things that you're like, where you're questioning yourself, like what you know it's a lie, but you want to still believe the truth. You want to believe it to be true.
Yeah.
Because they're so good at the lie. And it's like, I would never want to be, I can't even lie straight without like, what did I say? It's like, it doesn't
have a
come
conviction, you
natural
have a
to me to
conscience.
lie about something. Not that I've never said a lie, but like for a person to be able to come up with lie after lie after lie and then lie about the lie and then lie about it again and then it all makes sense, make it make sense to somebody, that's like a mental
You know what comes to
issue.
my mind? You guys remember Anna Delvey, the Netflix, the girl that she lied her way to high status and ended up she went to jail because you guys know who I'm talking
I
about.
think so.
That's what reminds me of because she was very calculated when she did and she made it. She did exactly what she did and she was a complete sociopath, but she had a goal for herself to get to a certain status with absolutely nothing.
Wow.
And it's really impressive how
Yeah.
she did it. There was a whole thing on Netflix. You might still be able to find it.
I
but
think I did watch. part
That,
of
you know,
that.
it's interesting too. I don't know if you guys remember the whole fire thing, the big event, the music event that was supposed to take place in the Bahamas.
Yes.
And here's the thing that's interesting about people who get hooked into lies, into fantasy lies. It's like, it's almost like it catches fire, right? So now I have this interaction with this person and I start to tell a lie, a fantasy story or whatever, because I want them to see me as someone that I'm not, because I think that's what's going to impress them and what they're going to like. And then you go down this rabbit hole. You see it a lot with people who've getting catfished. Now I have a need that I want this person to give me attention, because who I really am, I don't think is enough that someone will dislike me for me. So I'm going to make up who I am. I'm going to be fictitious. And now I'm in this conversation and there's emotional connection and there's something happening here. But now I realize that the reason why this person cares about me, or that I'm perceiving that they care about me, is because I'm telling them these lies.
Right.
And it just catches fire. Before you know it, becomes out of control. It's like a campfire turns into a forest fire.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go to the next one, which is compulsive and careless liar. These are ones who lies over and over, perpetuating deception constantly. It is often caused by low self-esteem and a need for attention. In fact, the compulsive liar finds it impossible to stop. So we talk about a sociopathic liar, and there's a fine line, right? Because you're like,
I'm like, he was all of these liars.
But there's a fine line, because a sociopathic
That one
liar,
too.
the lying is easy for them, and they have no conscious remorse about it. Whereas when you have a compulsive liar, this is kind of going back to, I guess, like what I was saying about my cousin, is she was just a compulsive liar. She was incredibly insecure. There was childhood abuse that was going on, and so she created these stories. Like, for example, when my father passed away, she told everybody at school it was her dad. And she had everybody convinced, but she got an incredible amount of sympathy and empathy from people because of it. But she was adamant that was her dad, and even would tell people that I was lying, that it was my dad.
Wow.
Yeah, she's just
How
trying
old
to
was
get
she?
it. I was 10 years old when it happened. She's 11 or 12. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
interesting. Yeah.
it was just that it was the attention she got from the compulsive lying, And I
These
think
kids turn into adults.
Yeah,
right.
And
exactly.
then,
Right.
like, it never stops. So maybe there was, you could tell I'm obviously in my feelings about it.
And I'm
but-
thinking too, like what happened in her life. She's
Yeah.
clearly lacking something.
Yeah,
Maybe it's, conviction of some sort. Or,
yeah, and we were children, so obviously there's an issue there when a child is compulsively lying. But if we circle back into like relationships and dealing with relationships where you have those compulsive liars, and we can get really caught up in falling for somebody because their compulsive lying is so convincing, and then the question becomes, okay, I'm rambling, but I feel like the most hurtful thing about that is that when you finally realize and you finally accept that it's a lie, you beat yourself up.
Oh my
like,
God.
what the hell was I thinking?
Why was my picker off, right?
Well, I would like to be really transparent about this situation because I think it's really valid. I think a lot of people suffer or have been treated this way, especially in relationships, because that's what hurts us the most. When we become vulnerable to somebody and open our heart to them, it's like, that's the most pain you can get. You could get it from friends or whatever, but when you're intimate with somebody, like they can really
affect you.
So when you talk about somebody lying to you and making you believe something, and me believing, when I started realizing these are lies, he's lying. Now I'm like, what's wrong with me? And I'm embarrassed about it, so I don't want to talk about it. I don't know how to share it, and then I'm doing things that morally I don't believe in because I want to believe your lie. And it just puts you in it puts you in a dark place. It puts you where you don't feel good about yourself, and how do you get that power back?
Right.
How do you leave it? Because there's always they're so convincing with it that there's always something that says, well, what if he's just working through these issues and he just needs time to get through it, and I'm going to give him that time. But in the meantime, I'm suffering with your lies.
What's ironic about it, too, is that when we say we are in direct proximity to who we spend our time with, if you're spending time with someone who's lying, then you become the liar, right?
Yourself, yep.
Even if you're not lying to them, you then start to lie to yourself. And then when you lie to yourself, and maybe there's outside people saying, this person's not right, there's a lie. Because you're trying to digest it and process it, and maybe
defensive.
there's some truth, then what happens is you start lying to them.
To protect the lie.
Or you're
Right.
trying to protect the lie, you're trying to process the lie, and then you find yourself alone. And then what happens is when you end up getting stuck on that island of lies, then you get webbed into that relationship even longer. Because now
You speak the same lie language.
exactly.
Right.
And we don't even realize that we've done that. You know?
And the lies to yourself to try to convince yourself, okay, you know, this isn't what other people think it is. You know, but a lot of people outside could look in and say, this is what it is, what it really is, you know, and you're like, well, I know this is how I feel, and whatever excuses you make for yourself, you know, and you don't go into something knowing a person is lying to you until you find out they're lying.
Right.
And at that point, you already have invested feelings, and it's not as easy to break away from those feelings when they're there.
And a part of that, I feel, is actually, I mean, there's a little bit of naivete to that. Like there's not gullibleness, but
Yeah.
when your heart is open, sometimes
You are naive.
Yes,
You are.
You are.
And
But it's also a learning experience. I truly believe that people come in our path, whether it's good or bad, to teach us about ourselves, right? So clearly, you're on the other side of that now, and you can talk about it. Look at what we're doing right here.
Yeah.
I don't regret I don't regret choices. I don't regret anything I did because I learned a lot about myself.
Amen.
And I
Right.
have processed that. And I process things my way, you know, and you have to allow yourself to process things that way, but you have to start being honest with yourself too.
And I think the key thing here is, and myself having been in a relationship in the past where there was a lot of lying that was going on, I really had to check in with myself and say, what is it about the lie that I needed it to be true? Because the fact that they're lying to me is not as important as why I need that lie to be the truth. So what is it that I'm not checking in with myself because I think we all kind of subconsciously know when someone's not being honest with us, when it's happened multiple times. There's these things where you start to question and you want to give people the benefit of the doubt and you have this hope, but you're almost wanting, it's cognitive dissonance, right? You want to convince yourself and rationalize that this person that's telling you what they're telling you, that there's truth behind it because you need it to be truth.
Right.
And you need to ask yourself, why do I need this to be true? What is it about this person and what they're telling me that is this void in my life that I need to be true? Because what will happen is we will suck into that and get hooked into that because it's a fulfillment we need filled for ourselves. And so that's where the lesson is. Like, why did I need that to be true? And why did I need to be true from this person? Why couldn't I accept that this is a lie? But I recognize that these are things that I want for my life. And because he's lying or she's lying, that person's not for me, but thank you for teaching me and making it more clear on what I want in my life. Now I just want it with someone who is actually
that.
keeping it real. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to move on to the next one. And the next one is a pathological liar. So this is someone who lies incessantly to get their way and does so with little awareness. They are often considered manipulative and cunning. They are near impossible to catch in the act. They are excellent liars because they lie constantly and make up stories unnecessarily, and often making it difficult to distinguish the truth from false statements. The pathological liars are very dangerous people.
There's lots of them all day, every
These are the
day.
kind of people that will rob you blind and you don't even know, right? It's like the emperor's new clothes. Do you guys remember the stories, children? The guy goes in and the emperor's so vain, right? He's so full of himself and he wants to have the greatest of the clothing and all the riches of the world so he can flaunt himself, whatever, you know? And so this guy comes in and says, I have this beautiful garment, this fabric, and only the wisest of the wise, the richest of the riches can see this fabric. And so the emperor and his ego says, oh, of course I can see it in the texture and this and that. And there's nothing there. So now the emperor, who thinks that only the best of the best can see, and he's the emperor so he can see these clothes, even though he cannot see anything, parades down the street to show off his clothes and he's ass naked, right? And so everybody not wanting to admit that they can't see what this magnificent thing is, all lie. They all go along with the lie, right? And so there's a little kid and he says, he's naked. I assume he had a British accent, okay?
That was good.
And that's when everyone realized, well, this is a child. The child has nothing to gain by lying. And so everyone realizes the emperor really is naked. And they all knew all along, but they didn't want to even admit. So anyways, it's a crazy little childhood story. But it is the story of pathological liars.
Yeah, because of his position in power, they assume that he knew he was saying the truth.
And here's how it catches fire, though. So you've got the guy that tells the emperor these are clothes. He started off with the lie. His lie was so convincing that the emperor and his ego wouldn't say that he didn't know that. No, you're full of shit. There's nothing here. His ego made him believe the lie. Because his ego was so big, his people felt obligated to lie with him. And so this is where pathological lying can become very, very, very dangerous, because it's compulsive and it's so convincing, and con artists are really good at pathologically lying.
They take a little bit of the truth and they expand upon that with lies. And so it sounds like it's a truth because some of the pieces really are factual, but other pieces don't equal. It happens a lot in our industry too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And the manipulation that's involved, right? Because in order for someone to be a really good pathological liar, they have to be really skilled at manipulating people. Right. So it's like, I'm going to tell you this thing, like the emperor, that this is it, and they're going to convince. What do you mean you don't see it? How do you not see it? This is for only the finest of the fine can see this, And we've all been in situations like that where I had a friend, a friend of mine who I had to stop hanging out with. I literally felt like I was going to pull my hair out every time I talked to him. But we would be in a conversation and he would say something like, and I'm going to give a silly example. He would say something like, yeah, so the other day I was out and I saw this purple sky and this and that, and he goes on. And I go, wait, did you say the sky was purple? Was it like the shepherd's delight sky? Was it like the sun setting, whatever? And he was like, what are you talking about? I never said the sky was purple. And I would say, and this is a silly example, and I would say, no. You literally just said the sky is purple. And he's like, what are you talking about? Why on earth would I ever say that the sky is purple when I know that the sky is blue? And I'm like, no. He's like, Lorraine, I didn't say that. That's what you were. And he would literally, and again, it's a silly example, but he would literally tell a story of some place he was at or some person he hung out or some information he got from somebody. And then when I would connect the dots and say, that's not lining up, he would turn the story around and twist and turn it to literally make me want to second guess if I had misheard him. And he'd be so adamant and so like firm in that he could look you dead in your face and tell you these pathological lies. And his life had this grandiose story behind it. And he would get these women to believe his stories. And it was just insane. It was very frustrating. But you couldn't tell him because he's a narcissist as well. You could not tell him that what he was saying was a lie.
I was about to say narcissist, yeah.
Oh, he was very narcissistic, yeah. Which goes on to the next one, which is the narcissistic liar. And this is such a buzzword right now. Everyone wants to talk about narcissists, but they demand attention. Yet the lies they create always deny responsibility and accountability for the actions of the narcissist. They are driven entirely by ego rather than logic and will defend their ego at all cost.
Right. Use that liar too.
She's like, check. Yeah. She's like, why didn't we do this show before?
Yeah. It all lines
We'll
up.
speak on that, Carmen, if you feel like it.
Oh God. I've actually experienced another person who was really a narcissist or what I would define as a narcissist. To me, a narcissist is a person who always places the blame on you. They're never wrong. It's always you.
Yes.
And I mean, they can create a problem out of nothing. And it makes you go crazy. You're like defending yourself. Like, no, I didn't. Just like you're saying, no, you said the sky was purple. And he's like, well, why would I say that? And you're like, well, why would I say that? You would never think to say the sky is purple because it's not your normal thing to say.
Right.
And I don't even know what my point is, but that type of person to me is like, I can't tolerate it. I don't like that given that where they're always pushing stuff on you and making you to be the bad person. And I'm like, it's just so draining. These types of people are so draining.
But
and
that's the key, is they rope you in.
They do. And they have a way. It's like they especially, I could speak from a woman. I'm a woman. I don't know a man. But it seems like these type of people understand how to play on your weaknesses. And they understand how to ask the right questions to get to where they can tell you what you want to hear, what you need to hear.
They test you.
Yeah. And for me, to go back to what we were talking about when you were saying, what is it? And I said, like I said, I want to be very transparent about this topic because it hits home and I think a lot of people go through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't like sharing my business, but for me, the voids that I needed were, this is the type of man that I felt like I can, if I said, God, this is what I want to be. And we met him at the same time. So, he's very smooth, charismatic.
Yep.
I mean, really roped me in. And
I was convinced too.
Yeah. And it was just what I wanted in my life. I wanted this lifestyle. I wanted it to look this way. So I was drawn to all that. And he just knew that. So he played on all that, and all the promises he made to me were in line with that. So when they started not coming through, then there was excuses, or the dates got a little further back, so I'm like, okay, kept going with it. And eventually it just got to a place for me to be like, really start questioning myself and what is it about this that I need so bad or want so bad, and starting to really be honest and stop lying to myself about what I thought it was, and participating in the fantasy with me. And I see how people get roped in for years behind these lies.
Part of me is like, wow, that good for you to have an open heart like that. Because for me, I hate to say it, I'm married, but if I was ever, you're guilty until proven innocent. Prove to me first that this is who you are. And that takes time versus I believe you because you said that. That's, I guess, unless they're lining up the proof to follow the words
it's
immediately.
Easy to say I was in a relationship for a really long time, so I understand what you're saying. When you're single, especially as an older adult, being single, and I was married for a long time, I didn't go through a lot of drama. I didn't go through a relationship that was volatile, or we didn't have a lot of drama. We didn't have cheating issues. None of that was my issue. So dating as an adult, I've always just kind of been an open-hearted person. I was raised like, don't go looking for stuff. If stuff's happening, it'll come out. So I'm not one to be checking up and looking and investigating. And, I'm just not that way. I let you, but then it's kind of like I probably should be more proactive in the beginning. So that's something that I've learned, because since I don't do that due diligence, I open my heart too soon.
That part.
Yeah.
You can still be open, but not give all right away. And, when the hope is there, and you're right, when we get to a certain age, we know who we are, what we want, et cetera, until the blinders come up because we want that. And it was, like you said, it checks all the boxes.
But I also have to accept that part about me too, because I think it's a beautiful part of me. And I love that about me, that I am a loving person, and I don't ever want to be jaded by that. So I do a lot of self-reflection, and I will withdraw, and I'll go through a lot, but when I'm done, I'm done.
So I want to kind of say this because both of you guys have similar experiences, right? You've been married for a very long time. She was married for a very long time. I didn't have that. So as this table, as we talk, you said, well, you're guilty until innocent. And she's like, I'm open-hearted and they're innocent until guilty, right? There's no right or wrong way. It's just that you have to be clear on why that is your narrative, right? Because you're not a single woman. You haven't been out there dating as a single woman, but you've been in a marriage since you were, or in a relationship with a person since you were a teenager, the same person. So we can always say how we would do it, but it's easier said than done until you're actually in it. And so when she's 37 years old, single, after having been in a marriage through her entire young adult life, it was easy for me as a friend to be judgmental and be a little bit harsh, not a little bit harsh at times, and wanting to just remove her from the situation without giving her the grace to say, I've been single the whole time she's been a married woman. So I've been through all this bullshit. And so I have a little bit of different lens on me, right? But I think there's something really beautiful to having an open heart.
Absolutely.
But the open heart has to come with clarity on who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a beautiful thing to have some resistance, but that could stop you from having people get into your life, period. And so it's about answering. I'm like you, more like.
I don't mean guilty. I mean, like, it takes time before I believe the full story.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
But there's a history behind why you approach people that way, right? Because that is saying, I don't trust you until you give me a reason to trust you.
Or I wouldn't put hope or fantasy on you until the time has shown that you are worthy.
And it
of
really
that,
depends on time and place. It depends on where you are emotionally in your life, right?
Yeah.
Because I could say that, like with my ex-husband, for example, I was never going to be that girl. And I was certain of that, okay? I was never going to be in a manipulative relationship where someone was abusive towards me, both verbally and at times physically. I was never going to be that girl, period, point blank, until I became that girl.
Right.
And so that kind of hardened me a little bit, right? And that made me go into new relationships after that and was like, oh, no, what are you going to do? And this and that. So I'm saying all of that because we have to there is no line in the sand.
There isn't.
It's all about clarity in who we are. And so when we're getting into relationships, because you could have somebody that, and I'm like you. You had to prove a lot to me. I'm a skeptic all the way until I don't even think I'm ever not a skeptic.
That's a better word.
But
Skeptic,
that is my childhood trauma. That's my inability to trust people. Those are my own issues, right? Is that really fair to do that to a person? No. Is there a healthy way to have that? Absolutely. The same thing with her. I look at her like I'm not that naive. I look at it naive. Like she's just so open. She just trusts everybody and everything. She gives everybody the benefit of the doubt, not me. So sometimes it's even hard for me to understand and have compassion and grace for her because I'm more think the way you do. But is there a right or wrong way? No. But again, you have to check, and I'm being redundant here, but you do have to check in with self and say, why am I so guarded? Why am I so skeptical of people? That's a trust issue. Where did that come from? And is everybody, do I need to burden everybody with that? Not necessarily.
And I think the benefit of the doubt should be given to everyone. But when we attach hope and a fantasy to the benefit of the doubt, that's when more time is needed. In my opinion, for
No,
any
of course.
even in friendships, girlfriends, there's a small group of girlfriends that I really get vulnerable with, because even in that relationship, it's important to know where I stand and how we vibe with each other, because my life is important to me. Before I invite you all the way in, I got to really know who you are for me. Friendships, relationships, whatever that may be.
And if that works for you, then it works for you.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, and you feel alone or on an island or feel like you don't have people and reach to people because you protect yourself that way, that's a protective mechanism,
Correct.
right? And we all do that. We all have our suits of armor and why we do things and why we protect ourselves from things. And again, it's just about checking in, you know?
As you said something last time. Sorry, you said to be privy of, right? It's similar to that too. How have you earned that from? Because we all bring value, and I don't get me wrong. I love the fact that you can be that way, because I think it's beautiful. If God was here on earth,
I love that about myself,
yes,
and
it's wonderful.
I'm okay. And you know what? I can say I'm okay with it, because that is, to me, a lot of people are so guarded. I handle heartbreak. It hurts me, it bothers me, but I can move on from it. It doesn't keep me trapped. Where I know we've had discussions, and Lorraine has shared, like, she suffers with it. You know, she holds it.
But I have to let, and I wasn't always that way, but I really have to give myself the time that I need without being so paralyzed by it. But I need to feel it. I need to go through the emotions, because I am at this stage of my life. Obviously, I'm in a relationship now, but at this stage of my life, to have a partner is important to me. But to go through all the BS, I don't have time for that. Okay. So when I say we have to get clarity, because it's a reflection of self-love. When I've gone through bad relationships, it's not about what do I want the next guy to be. It's like, who am I? And why am I deciding this for my life? Because that is what, in her situation, in my opinion, of course, it's like, she doesn't take the time that she needs, in my opinion, as a friend, because she's gone through a lot of trauma and a lot of things, and she doesn't process. She just kind of numbs it and stuffs it and moves quickly on to the next, which to me, it's a trip and fall situation, because she's so not managing her feelings that when somebody comes in to kind of rescue her, whether she realizes she's giving herself the time or not, then she gets really susceptible to their thing, in my opinion. And I could be wrong.
The only thing I disagree with is I suffer things while I'm in it. So, like, instead of walking away, I'll process while I'm in it. So I go through my hurt and my pain. I was hurting for months. You know what I mean? While I was in it.
Yeah.
I was hurting. And then that's when I start self-reflecting. That's when I start working. That's when I start understanding why. And that's how I process, though.
Right.
So to other people, it might not look like I'm taking my time, but to me, when I'm done, I could just be like,
well, you know who you are. You know,
but you have to, because everybody does things different. So sometimes you hear things like, you know, this is how much, and I've heard that a lot. I need 6 months after, not just.
I actually feel like this time for you, if I may say, and I'm just gonna. When me and Carmen became closer and we were spending more time, she was going through a lot of trauma. You know, sure.
Yeah.
She had somebody, her lover, her person was killed. Her grandmother, who she's very close, is like her mother to her, passed away, and her son was dealing with some injustice in his life legally, and all of these things were happening within this right time frame. And what she did, because it's a lot, it's a lot for a person to digest, is that she went into a relationship as a person. And she's talked about this openly.
He rescued me.
And I can say that when she got out of that, it was her time to realize I'm not allowing myself to process. So I wasn't speaking about this particular thing because I do feel like she is a reflector and does like, okay, I'm going to take the time. And she doesn't owe anybody an explanation for the time she's taking.
No.
So I want to make sure I clarify
that is beautiful is the fact that we have girlfriends and we could talk about this stuff, and that helps each and every one of us and whoever's listening to that grow from those experiences.
I read so many, like I'm a part of like different dating groups, and like, because I like to read what people are going through, and there is a common thing with women going through what I just went through. That's why I want to be so transparent on this topic. And you saying, until I became that girl, I became that girl in this, something I said I would never do. Don't believe in it, don't want to be a part of it. But I didn't know about it until the feelings were already there. And it's like, what do you do with these feelings, even though you know, and then they still lying to you? Like, I became that girl. And it's not a good place to be. You don't feel good about yourself. And at 44 years old, then you start beating yourself up like, I'm this stupid. You know what I mean? I'm this stupid. No, you need to like it's, I was stupid. But am I going to continue to be stupid? Am I going to continue to keep making the mistakes?
And I hate that you even say that I was stupid.
Yeah, I don't like that word
But that's
either.
how you
like,
feel.
Yeah.
And
No,
like
I
I said, I want people, because that's how people feel.
Right.
So you have to pick yourself up. Like we can't continue to just be in stuff that we know is not right because we don't have enough self-esteem or self-worth.
And it circles back to the lie thing. We have to stop lying to ourselves.
Right.
And again, same thing with me. The biggest betrayal in my marriage was the betrayal I give to myself. I needed him to fit that movie of my life, right? At that stage in my life, I had the storyline of I need to be married. Okay. That was the story that I told myself at that age. Okay. So all I did was cast the people. So now in my mind, it's time for me to be married. I'm at this age. It's not even married. I got to find that husband. And when I met him, he looked like what I wanted my husband to look like. And so therefore, because he fit that mold, he got casted in the role. Right? I didn't marry, but I didn't think about the character and how we're going to develop the character or anything about, this is my movie. Okay. And so this is why I say we have to check in with ourselves, because there's a time and place in our life that we're creating movies for ourselves.
Every day,
And women in our 40s
Yes.
and single, there's a narrative that we're telling ourselves. And we think the time is clicking, the time is ticking, or our time is almost up. We're going to be old pretty soon, and guys are not going to want us. And someone gives us and dotes on us and whatever. And we believe that crap.
You know how often it has come up? I just got a message the other day. This man wanted to go out on a date, and I'm like, okay, we set the date for Friday, and he doesn't reach out to me. So he texts me in the evening like, I didn't hear from you today. I said, well, was I supposed to plan the date too? I expect a man to take the lead in those types of things. He said to me, that time frame has expired.
Oh, no.
I am past courting age. I have been had, and I have a kid. And I was like,
wow.
Yeah. Talk about somebody that knows, huh?
Okay, someone's got a chip on their
Yeah,
shoulder.
I was like, whoa. Or I've heard, are you aware of your age? Like,
It's like, yeah, every birthday.
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway.
we're off topic. Go
Yeah,
to the next one.
but it's good
That was
stuff,
good.
though.
That was
I mean, it's
good.
good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it all
It's relevant.
it's all relevant.
I'm
it
like,
really
I got
is.
it going on for 44. What are
Yes,
you
you
talking
do,
about?
Do, girl. Hello.
I've
We are-
never had a problem. Okay,
Right.
finding, just getting the right one.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
The problem's always here, right? It's
Yeah.
really where it's at, and that goes for anybody. It's what is the story, and that's why I keep repeating this, and this is why I love the mindset thing. It's about checking in.
Yeah.
It's like, what is my mindset? Because some of it's so subconscious. Even for the people who are liars, who are compulsive liars or whatever, there's a mindset behind that. There's a reward they get for that behavior, and they will continue to do it because of the reward. And I think sometimes they don't even feel good about it. For some of them, it's just a thrill. All right. So how do we spot liars? We're getting ready to close up with this. So how do you spot liars out there? Okay. We've talked a lot. We've said a lot of different things, but here are a few things, and we'll kind of touch on them. So vagueness. sentence fragments, non-verbal cues, and question repeating. Okay, so let me kind of go over some of them. So vagueness. Usually if you're with a person and you're spending time, especially when you're getting to know a person and it's kind of like goes both ways a little bit. If I ask you a question and you give me way too much detail, when I just ask you a simple question as though you're trying to create the alibis and the this and that and blah, 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 you might be lying. I'm not saying you are, but you might be lying. On the contrary, if you're someone who is very evasive in your conversation, it's like, why are you sweating me? Why are you asking questions? Now, I got to say this real quick because I am notorious for being vague. I'm not a liar. I just don't like to be asked questions. I don't like when I'm interrogated.
We'll interrogate the hell out of you, boy.
Yes. Well, yes and no.
No, I'm just messing with you. Go
Yes
ahead.
and no, because I don't feel the need to me and my honey right now, he hates it. Because he'll be like, where are you going? And I'm like, I'm going to the store. Well, which store? I don't know, the store up the street. Well, I'm asking you, what store are you going to? Well, why does that matter? So now I'm being vague. I'm not up to anything, but I just don't understand why he's asking so many questions. So anyway, sentence fragments. This is where I was talking about the extra conversation, but leaving key points out, right? So they'll go through this whole drawn out scenario of what they've been doing all day long, but there's these pockets that are missing. So it's like these run-on sentences with these fragments, and it's like those are cues for understanding when people are not being honest with you, when they're just kind of like rambling about something, but they're leaving pockets of it out. And I'm going to go into how do you confront the liar, right? Because there's a technique that you can ask. If someone says to me, I'll just say it now. If someone says to me, how was your day? What did you do today? Okay. And I'm like, well, I did this, and that, right? If they said, well, I don't know, can you tell me that story in reverse? If a person's telling the truth, they can recollect what they did. If they're lying to you, it's very difficult because the brain does not, it takes a little bit harder comprehension to reverse a lie. And so it's a good way to kind of catch somebody in a lie. If I say I went to the gym, I had breakfast this morning, then I went and did the podcast, and then I did this and did that, I could say, oh, well, I could reverse that. Well, I was at the podcast before I had breakfast, and then I went to the gym. But if I'm lying there, it's gonna throw me off by telling the story in reverse. So if you ever suspect that, that's a good way. And then there's nonverbal cues. Now, I actually studied this. I have books on it and all that because I'm very fascinated by how investigators and FBI people, and there's this one woman, I can't remember her name now, but she writes these really good books on nonverbal cues and lying. And there's like these 17 pantomimes of lies. And it's certain things that people will do when they're lying. Certain ways that they like look a certain direction. And I don't want to say stuff because I don't want people like looking at, right, you lying. Just look the stuff up. There's good stuff on YouTube. And then question repeating, right? That's a stall mechanism. So if I say, again, so-and-so said they saw you out the other day and I thought you said you stayed home. Well, what do you mean so-and-so said that I thought that, and they'll literally repeat your question. They're stalling. And so that's a big thing. It's like if they need time to think about what they're going to say next, because usually if you have an answer, you just have an answer. You don't need to ask questions. So
sometimes I forget what I did an hour ago, so it might take me a minute. I guess it depends on the circumstances too.
Yeah.
And when the question's asked.
Right.
But I see that part of it. But as I'm thinking, I've probably done that a time or two because I really got to think back, what the hell did I do today?
Yeah.
But you don't answer the person by asking them a question. No. You're asking yourself, like, what did I do today? Yeah. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Like, hold on, let me think. Oh, yeah. But when you're trying to stall, you'll usually ask kind of questions deflection. Exactly. 100%. Yeah. So how do we deal with liars? Number one, first and foremost, is to just separate yourself from the liars, okay? Like in Carmen's situation, it got to a point where she was like, I'm done. This is not going to serve me. I've given it all. That's one thing I have to give you kudos on. She will give her all, and when she knows she's exhausted it, then she removes herself from it. And I think there are certain types of liars that I have zero tolerance for. Now, I understand some people are compulsive liars and this and that, but like a bold-faced liar we talked about the other day. I just feel like that's a person I don't want in my life. If a person can look me dead in my face, Or what do we talk about? The sociopath or the pathological liars, the ones that don't have any remorse or they're narcissistic liars, they're not accountable people. So I'm going to sit there and waste my every breath, blue in the face, to try to get them to tell the truth. And they just won't. I'm going to waste my time and my energy. Go
And
find
it's gonna
your
drive you
bunch of
crazy.
liars and go hang out with them. You guys can lie to each other. I don't have time for that. Another way to deal with liars is to check and confirm facts. It's exhausting.
Yeah, that is exhausting. Just hearing that.
I don't want that kind of life.
Check and confirm. No,
I don't either.
I
But for
don't.
some people, if they're in marriages and they feel like their significant other is, having some indiscretions or
They're
they're lying.
unclear. Yeah.
And then we're not even necessarily like fidelity issues with another person, but sometimes there's lies about finances and
But
spending
you're
money.
vested there. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about like just a boyfriend or just like I don't want to invest that type of energy anymore.
Right. But I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking about how people have to deal with
Okay.
them. Yeah.
If they're in your life. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So for some people, you just have to do the checks and balances. You check it, you confirm it, and then you confront it. The thing is, a lot of times when people are lying to us, we don't want to check. We don't want to face it. We don't even want to call them out. We might question, especially if we're upset, we'll call them out on a lie. But sometimes when we're being deceived and we're still processing the deception and we want to still believe the deception, we won't even call them out. Like, well, this doesn't make sense. There's this, and that. How come these aren't lining up? And a lot of people are afraid to confront that. So it's like, fact check it and then confront it,
And trust yourself. Because I think a lot of times
Yes.
people don't trust themselves to
Yes.
ask because they do believe that, am I taking this wrong? Is there something wrong with me in my
Well, there's a
thoughts?
fear too behind it because you have to be honest enough with yourself to say, if I say these things and if I put my foot down here, I have the potential to lose this person from my
Right.
life.
Good
And you have
point.
to be okay with that. And there's a process to get to that point. So I think a lot of it is just fear of really losing that person when you're not ready to let them go.
Also, another thing too is confronting the lie, knowing to lie, knowing they're going to lie to you. And I feel like sometimes when we know something's a lie, we confront the lie so they can lie to us some more, so it makes us feel better.
That's good.
Right? And that's a big one. I'm like, I'm going to confront them on the lie. I'm going to help them lie back to me, right? You're going to give them their answers for them. Like, what were you doing last night? Was it that you went to go see your sister? Yeah, I went to go see my sister. We give them the answer.
Yeah, that's funny.
And my friend says she saw you out. What you don't trust my friend? No, I don't trust your friend. As a matter of fact, and you feed them what they need, and then you start to feel better. You're like, see, they just convinced me of what I already know, and I wanted them to lie to me to make me feel better about not wanting. Because some people are not ready. They know the person's lying to them, and they're not ready to be faced with it. And so much, in fact, that sometimes they can straight up tell you they're lying to you and you'll still like, well, at least they're honest. And they'll still deal with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so protect yourself, right? You have to protect yourself against people. There are liars out there that are looking to con you. They're looking to manipulate you. They're going to break your heart. They're looking to break your heart. And the sad thing about when we get wrapped up and caught up in liars, especially when they're hurting us, and again, we talked about this last week where, sometimes people lie because it's their own story they're telling, but it isn't really hurting. There's no malice to hurt somebody else. They tell it because of their own insecurities. But when someone's lying and it's going to hurt you, you have to protect yourself from that because then you become hardened and you end up closing yourself off. And then when you meet great people in your life, you're suspicious of them, like you and I were suspects because probably we've been broken and we've been lied to, so we don't trust people the same. And it gives us an inability sometimes to really have really meaningful relationships because we just get hardened by that. So you have to protect yourself.
I think some of that goes down to standard too. When we have certain standards, we look for certain things, or we have to. And the standard is not something that we can always see right away, but we can get a little bit of it, and then we go deeper and then see more. And sometimes they just show up that way, and we think it's all that way. So it's trusting ourselves, and depending on where we are in life, do we want to invite that in?
Right.
Because sometimes it's like, I don't got no more room for that. I don't need no more friends that are that deep in my circle.
And I think, and again, I'm going to circle back to the clarity thing. I'm not interested in people's lies because I don't need to be lied to anymore. There isn't something empty in me that I need someone to fulfill up with a lie. And I think that that's how we get trapped in lies often. I'm getting to a place in my life, and it's not perfect, where I'm feeling stronger in self and more tapped into self-love, really accepting me for who I am. And so the lies, I don't even require them. we get lied to when we require them for our lives. That I feel like that happens sometimes. That's how we get kind of caught up. Like she said, this guy represented something I really want for my life. So the lie became easy for him because she lined it up for him to tell the story with the hopes that he was integral and he was actually who he said he was. But the thing is, that lie meant something to her. And so when we are in a space where we're much more clear on who we are, the lies from other people are not necessary, if that makes sense.
I think, like I said, I don't regret because that was a necessary learning experience in my life. So I'm stronger in that. So I don't think we welcome lies that way. I think what needs to happen, and this should be probably a closing statement. I know you got to go, right? Sorry.
No, it's fine.
But when we can be honest with ourselves and who we are and what we took from a situation of where we needed something filled, and now I can process what that is in me that I'm lacking. We don't need to go back out into the world with these bitter chips on our shoulders. We just learn to see it sooner.
Yes.
You know, so as long as you can walk out of these situations away from people like this and understand, like, you have one life, like, I'm not going to waste it with people who are not serving in my life that build me up, or I don't want takers anymore. That's
where discernment shows up.
Yeah, and you just get stronger each time. We're never going to have it right. There's always going to be somebody to lie to us, and it might fill a void you don't even know you have. And
No,
then you're
100%.
like, but we can't live in a life where we're like, I don't ever want to go through anything bad, so I'm going to push everybody away.
Or that someone has the power to challenge your joy.
Yeah.
I think that with experience and wisdom and age, our joy belongs to us. And no matter what happens in our life, that's one place I don't ever want to give away.
Yeah.
Regardless, I may be sad, I may be upset, I may be hurt, but my joy belongs to me. And if there's somebody or something in my life that can take that or challenge that, it doesn't belong in my life. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and when I say welcome, I don't mean like you're like welcome open arms.
Yeah, I know
what I mean though is that yes, people are going to lie to us. Okay, but the difference is when we start to really work on self and get clarity on who we are, the lie, it's not personal anymore. You don't take it personally, you don't feel it personally. That's the difference. Okay, that person lied. They're just a liar. That's their problem. It's not mine.
Exactly.
But guess what? I'm accepting who you are, but accepting doesn't mean that you get to be in a space in my life any longer. You've shown me that you're a liar. I'm clear that you are. And some circumstances, you're going to give people the benefit of the doubt and give them another chance. But I'm also going to tell them, I get that you lied. We talked about it. We can get past this. But know that I see you that way now. So if you cross that line with me again, it's done. It's like, what is the saying? First time, once. Shame on me.
Second time, shame on me.
So it goes to that, But again, I know that there are certain things and insecurities that I have. And it's, again, checking in with self and saying, I know these are some insecurities I have. So if someone feeds that for me, I might bite into that, right?
But what is it that they have with that lie?
What is the candle? Where's the carrot, right? And so we all have those things. But if I'm more aware of it, then when someone comes to me with what I need fulfillment-wise, I'm gonna try to my best, okay? I'm not saying I'm an expert here, to take a pause and say, And that's what life will teach you, right?
For sure.
Okay, so I'm going to go over these last quick bullet points. I know, Charlene, you got to get out of here. The last few, and then you guys can just touch on. We don't have to go over each one. Calling them out, which is I'm big on calling people out. Hold on to your own integrity. We talked about asking for the story in reverse. Always reflect. I think Carmen's great at reflecting. And we've been talking about this the whole time. Do not lie to yourself and accept them for who they are. So we just got done saying that. But the integrity is a big thing, right?
For sure.
Your integrity has a lot to do with self as well, right? And I think, again, when I said I never thought I was going to be that girl and I became that girl, I've also learned that I can't be, and I'm learning because this is hard for me because I'm a call them out person and I could be, people feel that I'm judging them or whatever. And really just kind of allowing people to go through trying my best to allow people to go through their journey and their process. But liars for me are just one of those type of people that get under my skin because it's so incredibly damaging what they do to people, especially those manipulating men and women, because there's women just like it too that are out there. Okay, so closing comments before I tell the reference, closing comments on lies.
And this was a great topic. Then we can go deep and wide with this truly. And I think at some point we've all lied, right? We've all said something that wasn't the whole truth. But having grace is important, but also to your point earlier, when we get to a certain place in life, those lies don't create damage in our lives anymore because we're okay with or without the lie. So we just start to see the people for who they are. And I kind of feel sorry for the fact that they have to lie about certain things.
Right.
You know, now it depends on the person and their place in your life and to what point that came. But truly, it's a matter of who we are and how we can handle that.
Yeah, totally.
I'm make it short. Don't be the victim of the liar and own your part of the lie, and be accountable to how you lie to yourself, and start becoming honest with yourself and allowing yourself to be who you are in that situation. And I hope I'm like rambling, but I have
No,
a
you're
point
not.
that I just want people to understand, like, you do not have to be a victim to what a person's lies are to you. And it's okay to have gone through it, experienced it, and then reflect on yourself and make the changes in yourself to be a better you, version of you, and okay to let those people go.
One last, I think handling lies gracefully says a lot about who we are too. Because we can react to lies and just look as bad as the liar in our reaction. Even though we know the truth, sometimes it's okay to know the truth and not react to the truth.
And process it through at your own pace.
Right.
But yeah.
I mean, the only thing I could say is, again, and I keep repeating this, is the whole clarity thing. Be honest with yourself about what you need in your life from people, and be honest with the reasons why you need those things. Because if you can put that at the forefront, the first thing you need to do is then be that person, be that need for yourself. Then when people come into your life with that space, you won't need the lie, because you'll have the abundance in yourself. You'll welcome, okay, that's great. Your need meets the need that I want. I have that need for myself. And so you're welcome here. But the moment that becomes deceptive, you can remove yourself from that, because it's abundance you already have, if that makes sense. And I think that clarity is our power. And I think that we're never going to get away from liars, just like we're never going to get away from some of the lies we tell ourselves. But it's the way you see it and perceive it and how you let it affect your life. Don't take lies personally.
No, it's almost like the more clear we are on who we are, the bigger the bubble it is around
Yeah.
us, you know, that protection.
Like, you're a liar, but I don't take that personally.
Yeah,
You know,
because
that's
usually
your
they're
problem.
lying for themselves, not for you.
Totally.
So you can't take it personally.
So there's a reference page. There's a lot of great articles on lies. There's a lot of articles, but here's some that I kind of took some of these definitions from. Don't forget to hit the subscription button. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, ciao.
All right.